Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Tuesday, June 11, 2013 County Board meeting. Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen.
Present.
Honor.
Here.
Burial.
Here.
Castro.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Donahue. Here. Ford.
Here.
Rogers. Here. Jim.
Here.
Heyman.
Here.
O'Shea.
Here.
Kenyon.
Here.
I thought it's right. Rosario.
Here.
Flash.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
Molina.
Present.
Pollock.
Here.
Sheffro.
Here.
Silva.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Sterrett. Taylor.
Here.
Vasquez.
Here.
Wadecki.
Here.
Okay, so we have a quorum. We'll go ahead and get started. You know, we have some fun today, but we have a lot of progress to make. So we do have executive session. So if we can move through things as efficiently as possible. We have two distinguished people who are joining us today. The first to say the Pledge of Allegiance is United States Army Private First Class Aaron Frost, son of Drew and Gail Frost. Private Frost recently completed 14 months of training and graduated as an explosive ordnance technician. And he leaves for Grafenwohr, Germany very soon. He's assigned to the 702nd EOD, which is the Explosive Ordnance Technician company. And so I very much appreciate Private. Thank you so much for coming today. Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done. Thank you. We could not be more proud of you. Thank you. Go out and represent us well. You know, it just gets better and better. But we're so fortunate. So, to lead us in prayer this morning. And by the way, Drew, Gail, thank you so much for your good work. Jeez, you look at it, tremendous. Well, and now it just keeps coming. Saying us and leading us in prayer today is Ramika J. Ford, daughter of Ron Ford. Ramika graduated with honors from Lewis University with a Bachelor's of Science in Biology and a minor in math. She plans to continue her studies at Logan College of Chiropractic in Chesterfield, Missouri. So, Dr. Silva, it's amazing, you know, the good patterns just keep coming. So, if you would please rise. Ms. Ford, we are so happy that you are here this morning.
Our Father, which art in heaven, we bless your holy name. We thank you for blessing us with another day. Give us the mindset of servants, and we thank you for the opportunity to serve. We ask for your guidance and wisdom to help us make the best decisions for your people. We thank you in your Son Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Ramika, thank you so much. Okay, we also have, I'm not sure if he's arrived yet, but I believe that we have a guest who's either here or going to come soon. Brian from Senator Mark Kirk's office is also mentioned that he may be here. So he may be caught in some of that traffic where they're chopping down those trees over by Susan Sterrett's house. So, next on the agenda is approval of minutes. The May 14, 2013. Could I have a motion in a second? So moved, Mr. Vasquez, second by Ms. Sterrett. Are there any changes or amendments? Ms. Taylor?
One of the things I noticed is,
Would you turn it?
yes, it's that. Joe Heyman's name is quoted in there as District 5. So if we could change the district number in there to make it correct.
Okay. Good, thank you very much.
If you want the district, we can share, you know.
Any other adjustments or amendments? If not, motion's made, seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay. All right. Now, under new and unfinished business, the short program today. If you don't mind, I'd like to use this time to maybe get a little ahead in the agenda by presenting the idea of the community outreach coordinator idea, or the concept. I presented that at both the Finance Committee, and I deeply appreciate the unanimous consensus of that committee in moving it forward in the process. I know that the chairman's office has the authority to make contracts, but this is not a chairman kind of project. This is a county board and a County of Kane project to bring us together. So then it went to the executive committee where it received unanimous approval. It was put on the consent agenda. So if someone doesn't, and if someone wants to remove it from the consent agenda, great. But I did want to share the thought with the entire board in case it went forward, just so that you have a look at it. The first part of it is that I would like to thank Terry Hunt, who has, it's amazing to have both sides of the brain working so well, both the artistic Terry and then the numbers detail side of it. We're very lucky that people have sent you to serve as our auditor. So he has helped us put together some of the visuals of the presentation. What I'm going to do is try to make this much shorter than I did in executive. Do it pretty quickly. First of all of us together have saved a substantial amount of money already in the budget. And so I'd like to run through some of those numbers quickly so that you know that the dollars are there in the budget. I'd like to take just a fraction, just a portion of those, redirect those with your permission to move forward on the community outreach program. To give you an idea of some of the savings that make this possible, under the property tax levy freeze, we'll go through some of these slides. So, Terry, okay. Early on, within the first 3 months, the Finance Committee, Executive, and the Board as a whole went through and saved substantial money over the next several years in interest savings on the bond. Next slide. We no longer have a lobbyist. We hope to use our membership in county association that are similar to Kane County to do group lobbying rather than an individual contract lobbying. As you can see, 54,000, then 67,000, then 70,000, then 85,000 in the last fiscal year, and this year 0. And so freeing up money to put together some things that may be of higher value. Now, next slide, please. Communications, the website. In the past, we had a contract with Mr. Prosecki. That was 11, 17, and 13,000. This year, 0. Next slide. All paid TAC was another contract, about 8,700. Next slide. Then at one time, public information officer, which was 19,000, 7,500, 7,500, and then the last 2 fiscal years, 0. So I think that that's totaled up on the next sheet. And that's the totals of, and then redirecting just a portion. Initially, I thought that I was going to suggest that we have like a public relations officer. But, and I kidded with both the executive committee and the executive committee that, you know, a public relations officer makes the chairman, and their job is to make that chairman look good. And this is not about that kind of an effort. What's important is that we serve the 515,000 people with some important work. And so shifting from hiring a spin meister, a public relations or public information officer, to a project managers who will put together this community outreach. Now, Terry, if you go to the next program that you put together for us. And this one actually has moving pieces. And Mitzi, if you're there you go. You know, while that's getting put on the screen, you know, everyday county business that so many people take for granted includes justice being dispensed, roads being built and kept clean, zoning being considered, taxes being collected, all those many things that so many people who we serve take for granted. Those things need to be done, and they're done well. Then I think that it's up to the board to consider what unique characteristics make a place worth living in, working in, and investing in forever. So if we were just looking at the one question of, well, what's in what you're going to see for the taxpayers, you know, now that you're in the second year of working within a property tax levy freeze for the county, the Forest Preserve, and the Fox Valley Park District, the more employers, the more shoppers, the more investors that we have with a fixed burden, the more people we have with a shoulder to the wheel, the easier it is to lift that burden, that tax burden. So what's in it for the taxpayers is to retain and attract as many of those investors, shoppers, employers, taxpayers to make the burden of this local government a little bit easier. So with that, I'm just going to have you run through the concept. Terry, I think that you're a little genius here. If you think about how an electromagnet works, the idea of coils of wire that you send a magnet through sends electricity. Now, into the next. Just not with the numbers. Whoa. The idea of how we draw families, employers, investors into Kane County. Combining the strengths of Kane County's veterans, these are the different constituents or coils of wire, our taxpayers, our moms and dads raising families, our employers, the youth, active retirees, pet owners, and gardeners. I mean, the list is only limited by our imagination. I think that what we need to do is focus our efforts on a couple of items first. But think about the good core of people and services that we have, surrounded with the energy of these volunteers, the coils of wire, of all these different constituencies, and all doing what they like to do naturally. This is not trying to shove anything in a certain direction. It's doing what they naturally like to do, and we become like their clubhouse. You know, you think so many of us in this group who have been elected by tens of thousands of our constituents understand that government is meant to fill needs that we can't do individually. You know, Carl and Tom are here today. None of us can build a road together. We have the Chief Justice with us today. We have the sheriffs. We can't dispense justice individually, and so we come together as a group. You know, I think that it's also true in our social lives of what makes it really fun to live in a place and rewarding to live in a place. I think that our county government can become like the treehouse. the clubhouse where we gather together, all these different constituencies, doing what they like to do. It's not, well, we're going to sell the county on what the county is doing. No, it's that as groups we enjoy, as all these different constituencies, we enjoy what we enjoy doing naturally. So, Terry? Okay, let's see. Okay. Add some energy. Oh, baby, what happens? Exactly. Kane County, 4th of July, all year round. Now, some people think that it's April 15th all year round. The people in this room think that it's 4th of July all year round. So the idea of gathering these constituencies with groups of steel, natural magnetism of energy going through people with natural interests that we all share. Whether it's schools, families, healthcare. And all of us coming together and really continuing the approach and organizing a wonderful place to live. So with that, we've gone through the process of advertising for these positions. I don't know what it's going to look like in the end. I think that this is a good start. I'd like to assure everyone in the room and outside of all of our constituents, I have no horse in this race. I know that there will be more cynical people who will say, well, there's a person out there that Chris would like to employ, and this is a program made for that person. That is absolutely not the case. We've had several very highly qualified people apply for the job. We've selected some people to come in for interviews. They've all been impressive. And now it's a matter of moving it forward. My guess is that over a 6-month period of time, when we're adjusting the formula, I figure that at first it was a coordinator and an assistant. I think if we have 2 coordinators, sorting out the thing, dividing up the work, coming back with measurable results to see what communities are built during that 6-month period, and then we'll come back to you with a report. And I believe that in the budget process, I'll ask you for permission to go forward to build on what we create there. So are there any questions that I can try to answer? Yes, Mark?
Thanks, John, Terry. Yes, excellent, sir. I'm not immune to the feel-good nature of this concept by any means. I think it's a wonderful start, as you say. I would suggest, without any desire to put it off track, that just a little bit more definition of the task at hand that we're going to give to somebody. We've allotted $64,000. We could extend that to look at it on an annual basis as a 6-figure job. So obviously it would give us importance. If I was that person, I would want a little more direction on how I was going to accomplish measurable results. I would submit that between now and our next meeting, every one of our committees will meet. And it might be very beneficial to have each of them, with this concept in mind, discuss briefly how it touches them and help give us some of those measurable kinds of approaches. Because the success of this is important. I think it's a wonderful concept. My concern is, if I look at it from a private sector kind of perspective, that it would not create something that we're going to be able to measure immediately. And if we take a little more time at the beginning, I think the initial 6-month period would be more successful.
Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Several things. First of all, I think that your suggestion makes a lot of sense, that the measurement of the output of this project will be both in the definition of what we do together in this area, but then also the size of the communities that are brought together. We now have the tools of electronic and social media to see the size, the number of people who have positive public engagement, which is what we're trying to maximize. There will certainly be definition, but there will also be nuts and bolts numbers that both you and I appreciate, the number of people engaged in the community. I also would like to correct a number that I have no idea where it came from, but I know that it was reported in one of the newspapers. That $64,000, that's an inaccurate number. That is what they used to spend for public relations. The definition in both what was advertised was in the range for 2 people between $38,000 and $50,000 for, and again, it's 2 people for a period of the 6-month contract trial. So, other thoughts? Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I welcome the idea. During my campaign, I've always supported the administrative position in that office. The office is a very busy office, and I think it'll be good for the county and constituents. Put that position in place, so I will support that.
Thank you very much. Other thoughts before we move on? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, speakers. Let's see, speakers on agenda items. I understand that there is a person who has asked to speak on the what's listed on the sheet as prevailing wage ordinance. Brian Dahl. Brian, are you with us? Brian, would you come forward and share your thoughts? And would maybe 3-4 minutes cover it?
That'll be fine.
Thanks for joining us today, Brian.
Thank you, Chairman Lawson. My name is Brian Dahl. I'm Vice President of the Fox Valley Building Construction Trades Council. Some of my delegates are here with me today, and I'm also a resident of Kane County. I would like to speak briefly on behalf of the item to remove Section 3 from the Kane County Prevailing Wage Ordinance. By doing this today, you are saying to the public that the county wants to reduce the quality of standards for bidders on construction projects that have been adopted with these provisions each year for over 16 years. Protections like these help prevent the awarding of bids to contractors who label workers as apprentices in order to blatantly violate the Illinois Prevailing Wage Act. What is disappointing today is not just the removal of Section 3 language, but removing it without replacing it with alternative protections which might offer some guarantee that bidders will be responsible. The apprenticeship requirement and drug testing provisions may not be the best answer, but it offered a means to pre-qualify bidders at the front end of the bidding process, which at least provided Kane County with some level of protection from unscrupulous and irresponsible contractors. Section 3 also provides a mechanism to lower unit costs on Kane County construction projects through the utilization of legitimate apprentices. Keeping the participation requirement would have a zero-sum effect on project costs due to a standardization of hourly wage rates already called for under the Act. The utilization of apprentices on Kane County projects not only lower unit construction costs, but also assists in the promotion of workforce investment, which apprenticeship training is the core of. Without this standard, there simply is no way to know for certain if an apprentice is indeed an apprentice or is being erroneously classified as such by a contractor wishing to pay less than the prevailing wage. Once you adopt this resolution, you will have eliminated the only front-end protections you have in the county to prevent violations of the Prevailing Wage Act. You'll be trading in a means of self-enforcement and replacing it with nothing. In place of nothing, you will become one of many local units of government whose contracting is under the constant scrutiny of fair contracting stakeholders who assume that, absent any criteria or reasonable requirements, any and all prevailing wage projects are highly likely to be formed by contractors who are not following the law. Alternatively, you can meet with the construction stakeholders, such as the Fox Valley Building and Construction Trades Council, and develop a reasonable set of front-end responsible bidder standards which would prevent the letting of bids to contractors whose bids are artificially low because they intend to violate the law and pay something less than the prevailing wage rate, either in flagrant violation of the law, through the misclassification of workers as independent contractors, or through erroneous classification of apprentices, all of which would be activities subject to the oversight and attention of the Illinois Department of Labor. The Kane County Board is not making good policy this morning. They are allowing anti-union sentiment to coalesce into the unwise elimination of the only protections they have in place to prevent irresponsible contracting in the procurement of building and construction services. This is being done before anyone has provided any evidence that the current standards cause any problems, and without regard for how alternative standards could be adopted, which would permit more competition among responsible bidders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dahl. I appreciate you taking the time. Okay, going into the resolutions and ordinances, we go to the consent agenda. We have several items. Is there anyone who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Mr. Donahue?
156, please.
Okay, 156. Any others? Mr. Davis?
171.
Any others? Ms. Allen?
180.
180. Any others? If not, may I have a motion to pass the consent agenda, to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of those that have been mentioned. Mr. Vasquez made the motion, Ms. Starrett second, and I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen? Auger?
Yes.
Mario?
Yes.
Castro?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Rogers? Yes. Young?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
Bochet?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Zari?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Jeffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett? Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Benetti?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. The consent agenda with those items put on the side, we'll consider those next. That's passed. Okay, let's go to number 13, 156. Mr. Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to call attention to this resolution recognizing the 25th anniversary of the Kane County Historic Preservation Ordinance and expressing appreciation for our Historic Preservation Commission members. Kane County takes a great deal of pride in its historic resources, and it was the first one to adopt the Historic Preservation Ordinance in 1988. And since that time, we have received numerous awards recognizing our accomplishments in the area of historic preservation. This particular resolution expresses our gratitude and continued support for the efforts and stewardship of everyone involved in the county's historic preservation program, and in particular its Historic Preservation Commission members. I understand that some of the members are here in the audience today, and if so, I would ask them to rise and be recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Donahue. Okay, the next is, excuse me. May I have a motion? So moved by Mr. Donahue, second by Mr. Smith. The clerk take the roll, please.
Allen? Auger?
Yes.
Barrio?
Yes.
Castro?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
Bochet?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Zari?
Yes.
Lash? Lewis?
Yes.
Molina? Holly?
Yes.
Jeffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sarah?
Aye.
Taylor?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Yes.
Winnicki, I'm sorry, Barb, thanks. My old age.
Thank you very much. That motion passes. By the way, I'd also like to recognize and welcome to our meeting, as I announced earlier, Brian from Senator Mark Kirk's office. Brian, thank you very much for coming this morning. Next item on the agenda is number 13, 171. Mr. Davis?
Just renewing what I said a few minutes ago, this is a wonderful initiative and deserves the best chance for success we can give it. I would encourage you to let this go through one more round with the committees so that we can give it some very specific direction and try to ensure that it has the best chance for success by having measurable guidelines and parameters. It's not my intention to derail it anyway, but in fact to try to help it be successful. The motion would be to let this go through the committee process and get that input from all the stakeholders and help us make it a success.
Let's hear you making that motion to take it back to committee. Okay, so there's a motion on the table. Is there a second? Failing to get us, excuse me?
We make a motion second on this one.
What?
Should make a motion and second on this one.
No, what we'll do is,
Before you have discussion.
sorry,
There has to be a motion and second before we have discussion on the item.
I understand.
Plan for a ask for a second.
I asked for a second for the motion. Failing to get the second, we'll go back to the, right.
Mr. Chair, the point of what I'm trying to go is go back and correct what we started. We started discussion before we made a motion on this item.
Let me go back then. Thank you very much, Mr. Vasquez. I'd like to ask for a motion for the, so the motion would be out of order. The motion to pass the resolution 13-171. May I have that motion? Mr. Vasquez. Second, Mr. Ford. Now the discussion. So you have the discussion now. You've repeated yourself. I think that your point is clear. Okay, so we'll call the question. First of all, is there any other motion? Okay, so it's your desire to amend the motion?
Yes, I'm sorry, I said that a little too soon with the amended motion before we had the first.
Okay,
So yes, my amended motion was that we allow this to be.
so amending the motion to, I guess, send it back to which committee?
To let it go through all of the committees and let them give us one round of input so we have some measurable guidelines that we can bring back.
So
through next meeting here and launch it with what I think will be a greater chance for success.
Okay, so your motion is that we send this back to every committee to get input from every committee and then bring it back to finance executive to bring it back here. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, failing to get the second, we'll move on to any discussion on the motion and the second that's on the table. Ms. Lesh.
I guess not discussion, is back for regular
Yes.
discussion. Okay, thank you. What I would like clarification, Mr. Chairman, about is that, make sure I heard you correctly, because the resolution says $64,000 for this position, 6-month contractual. Is it for one person or is it for the two people that you're looking at? Okay. I see it in the resolution body now. Okay, so that question is, my other question is kind of in reference to what Mr. Davis is asking. Has the county gone outside to maybe other counties to see if they have such a person in position already and kind of how it's helped them or not helped them? Perhaps?
I have not done that, but I it's a good suggestion to do that. I think it's a good thing to survey what other folks are doing to see if there's something that's especially working well. I think it's a good suggestion.
I mean, otherwise, I'm really in favor of this as well, but, you know, just again, a measurability type thing. Is it going to be, you know, working?
And the standard that I would use to measure, once you know the full definition and you know the tools are put in place, it will be the size of those communities, and so the numbers of people who are participating in the program in some demonstrable way. So that would be the standard that I would bring back, just as in other standards. For instance, last time that we had an initiative to protect ourselves, over in the animal control shelter, the success or failure of a building manager is based on dollars collected. In this circumstance, it will be a matter of the size of the community that's been constructed in a relatively short period of 6 months. Dr. Silva?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We just had a lengthy presentation, a very good presentation in what the course was really regarding volunteers. I know one of the outcome assessments is number of volunteer hours charted, number of volunteers, and number of volunteer hours charted. I don't think, well, I really appreciate the idea of getting information from somewhere where it's worked. Other counties are a possible source, but so is the Forest Preserve. I think they're doing a wonderful job with their volunteer program, so we need not look too much further out than we have here. Thank you.
Another good suggestion. Thank you very much. Other thoughts? Ms. Gillum?
I just had a question about the internal grant that we approved for the
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm right here.
The internal grant that was approved for $100,000 for IT is meant to work in conjunction with this. Is that meant to support this position? In the resolution, there's a Riverboat internal grant approved with us, and I was wondering how they would work together.
Okay, well, and your natural question is there money in the budget to provide these?
No, I understand there's money in the budget. I was just wondering how that grant would go to support this position. How they would work together.
I anticipate that the Information and Technology Department will stand in support of the people who are brought in under contract to do this initial community building. So wherever that 100,000 is put in, the whole IT department will stand in support of. We already have a platform, a website. The technology is already in place as far as Facebook and communication of large numbers of people. So, you know, when we need help, we do call Roger. So I anticipate that it goes into that budget and is available to support different initiatives in the county work. Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
Yes, I'm in support of the position, and the county's overall spending is like $40 billion, somewhere in that neighborhood. And spend $60,000 to promote the interests of the total population of the county is fine with me. I did have a similar small question. Looking at riverboat funds, I would like to just ask a specific question about the funding of this position. Is it being funded from the riverboat funds, or is it being funded from the general fund? That's my question.
Okay.
We talked about the lobbyists, etc. Those are all funded by the general fund.
Good.
Riverboat funds are targeted for community kinds of activities. That kind of thing. So I'm just curious
In the fourth whereas in the resolution, it does list out, and I think that perhaps where Ms. Gill was coming with the question is that under the fourth whereas, it has it identified as outreach appropriated by county board through fiscal year 2013 budget process through the Vertical Grant Committee.
So it's coming out of
the place where money can come from to pay for it. By the way, may I also again correct an impression that I think might be either in a summary, but it's not in the resolution, the $60,000 figure. The anticipated number has always been between $37,500 and $50,000. So it's not 60, 64. If it's printed in the summary that it's 60 or 64,000, that's an error.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Smith?
in the resolution, the appropriation amount is listed at $64,000.
the executive summary.
That's an executive. Okay. I'm going to the resolution itself. I'm not sure how the summary should be corrected.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Vasquez?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend the executive summary to reflect the appropriate salary.
I'll second it.
Okay, so move to amend up to $50,000 if that's the agreement. So moved by Mr. Vasquez to amend the amount not to exceed $50,000, seconded by Mr. Smith. Any discussion at this point? I mean, it's fine with me. That's the original intention. Ms. Auger?
Thank you, Chairman. Is that for one or for two people?
It's for two people, up to two people. Any other thoughts? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Chairman, would you repeat that so everybody understands exactly what the vote is?
Okay, rather than the $64,000 that was in the summary but not in the resolution, it's to spend up to $50,000 over a 6-month period for 2 positions. Okay, and for no, it's for the 2 together. Total budget.
Mr. Chairman, I think the concern is a limitation on the spending amount. I think the appropriate amendment would be the resolution on its face as opposed to the executive summary, because I don't think the executive summary has any weight. You can, there's a typographical error in the executive summary, you can understand that. If there's an understanding that there's going to be a limitation on the amount of spending, it would be appropriate to put it in the face of the resolution itself.
I mean, I'm fine with the amendment. I do appreciate that that's a clarification. So is your advice to the board that it should be?
I don't think formal action would be required to amend a summary, an executive summary, other than a statement of fact. But if that is an understanding as part of the approval of this, that we're going to put a dollar limit of $50,000, then that should be put in the face of the resolution.
So Mr. Vasquez will withdraw his motion. I will withdraw my second.
Well, I'll amend that motion to
Reflect that it's on the
resolution to include up to $50,000 for 2 positions.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion?
Again, you're going to have to clarify what that is about.
First clarification. In essence, you would like to have down there for it be resolved by the Kane County Board, that the County Board Chairman being here authorized to enter into agreement with vendors for community outreach not to exceed $50,000.
That's correct.
So you would be amending the whereas clause of the ordinance that's in front of us today.
So up to $50,000 and up to 2 people.
That's right there.
Okay, good. Any other? Mr. Ford?
Thank you. Just a curiosity, how many hours we expect these people to put in a week's time for 25 weeks?
Well, I think that it's going to be substantial, Mr. Ford. I mean, now we're really into some detail that I can guarantee you that anybody who works for this board through me is going to be working hard.
And I believe that. So I'm not too sure this is appropriate for us to do this at this given time.
Well, I'd like to move this forward so that we can get to the work rather than the talk. is what we're trying to do here. So, but thank you, Mr. Ford. I'll pay very close attention to supervising the efforts so that we get our money's worth. Other discussion? If not, will the clerk take the roll on the resolution as amended?
Ellen?
Oh, no, excuse me. This is just on the amendment. So this is just on the amendment.
Ellen? Auger?
Yes.
Barrio? Castro?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Franz? Yes. Gillen?
Yes.
Haven?
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazari?
Yes.
Latch?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Aye.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Winecki? Except for that's a nine.
So the motion passes unanimously, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's the motion. So now we have a motion and a second on the resolution as amended. Any further discussion? If not, will the clerk take the roll?
Ellen?
Aye.
Auger?
Yes.
Barrio? Castro?
Yes.
Davis? Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Franz? Yes. Gillen?
Yes.
Haven?
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazari?
Yes.
Latch?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Aye.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Winecki?
Yes.
Okay. With the exception of Mr. Davis, the motion passes unanimously. I'm sorry. With the exception, Mr. Cole, was there another no vote?
2 no votes.
Oh, who was the other no vote?
Ms. Gill.
Ms. Gillen, thank you. With the exception of those 2 votes, it passes unanimously. 21 to 2. Oh, were you a yes or no? You were a yes.
It passed the school.
I should consult with the clerk. First of all, my apology to Ms. Gill. With the exception of Mr. Davis, the motion as amended passes unanimously.
Yes.
Okay. The next, let's see, next item that was off the agenda was 13180. Ms. Allen, you had a question or concern? Okay, so Ms. Allen moves the motion to amend the resolution 12278, Kane County financial policies. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Wodnicki? Discussion. Ms. Allen?
I pulled this off the agenda just because I realized that somebody had gone through our financial policies word by word, line by line, and is improving them according to what our auditors requested, and also to help us build towards an even better credit rating. And I just wanted to say thanks to Mr. Hunt for doing so much hands-on work on this project. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Allen. Other thoughts? If not, there was not only, thank you very much for recognizing the work that goes into the foundation of what we do. Mr. Hunt worked with also Mr. Ricker, Mr. Onsick, Mr. Armstrong, several other people gathering up the suggestions. And I would also like to thank, as you pointed out, our outside auditors who did an excellent job of giving us advice through their management letter. So with that, I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll. Thank you, Ms.
Allen?
Aye.
Auger?
Yes.
Barrett? Castro?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue? Yes. Ford?
Yes.
Franz? Yes. Gillen?
Yes.
Haven?
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazari?
Yes.
Latch?
Yes.
Lewis? Yes. Molina? Pollock?
Yes.
Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva? Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Aye.
Taylor? Vasquez?
Yes.
Winecki?
Yes.
Ferrero? Yes.
I'll get that right.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you very much. There were 61 pieces of business that just went through the work, so thank you very much. I'd like to thank I'd like to express my appreciation for the many hours of committee work that goes in to all of these 61 pieces of work in progress, all the members of those committees and their chairman. Okay. The next on the agenda is number 13208, which is establishing the Kane County Prevailing Wage Rate 2013 language. I'd ask for a motion to approve. Mr. Vasquez, second. Ms. Auger. I'd like to open the floor for discussion. Ms. Castro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the parts of our speaker today, one of the things that concerns me about removing the language, as you can see in the resolution that passed out this morning, section 3 was removed. And our speaker did hit on a lot of the points about the improved training program and the importance of it. Most importantly, this language, the training and apprenticeship program, was passed by the 91st General Assembly. And in that, when you read it, and I will read it, hourly cash wages plus fringe benefits for training and apprenticeship programs approved by the U.S. Department of Labor, Bureau of Apprenticeship Training, Health, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm concerned that we're removing something that has been approved. We're talking about, a contractor, whether they're union or not, has to pay prevailing wage. They also have to pay training allotment of dollars. Why would we not have this clause in here? One, for protection of ourselves. Two, to allow them to pocket that money. I would like this was a discussion that came up before, and I think it's important. We all receive training in whatever careers we get. Why wouldn't we want trained contractors, whether they're union or not? Now, some folks will say this is a union issue. Some folks will say, I don't see it as a union issue. I see it as just everyone an even playing field for fairness. I have yet to be demonstrated that union workers are getting more work. I think this just levels the playing field. So I'm going to make a motion to reinstate section 3. And would you like me to read it for the record, Mr. Chairman?
So that is a motion to amend the motion that's on the floor to insert the language that was formerly section 3. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have the motion and the second by Mr. Vasquez. Discussion on the motion to amend. Ms. Allen.
Can I ask this question of somebody who knows? If I'm an employer who doesn't have union employees and I'm contributing to a training program because that's a prevailing wage act, then if that money is going into, what kind of training can that money go into? Are people objecting to this because only union schools are approved, or are there training programs with a wider range so that I can send my guys or my guys' children?
Any contractor can apply, whether you're union or not, for certification from the Department of Labor or training or apprenticeship program. It's not strictly you have to be part of the union. There are community colleges that offer training in some of the trades. They can put money into that. It's just having the ability to send those folks to go to training. They're paying for it. Why would we want our tax dollars to be pocketed? Or why would we want our tax dollars to go elsewhere? And that was the issue that I personally had with the resolution that came last time. Yes, they had an apprenticeship program, but it was incorporated in the end. Given our mandate to want to create jobs in this county, why wouldn't we want that apprentice program either in this county or at least in the state? I'll even concede in the state because then the dollars are being spent here. And then as we know, if you're having an apprentice, they're going to go to where the training's at, spend money in the economy, and there goes the circle.
Well, it's a Department of Labor standard.
Okay, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look at this resolution. We've passed this resolution for years, ever since I've been on the board. We've not had one issue come up with any contractors regarding this issue. It's an education, training portion of this language that probably could be readdressed in another committee later. But at its face value, I've not seen a problem with it. I'm not supporting taking that out. And, we'll support putting section 3 back in.
Okay, Mr. Frost?
Government bidding is already extremely onerous. Between the paperwork and prevailing wage laws, it really restricts bidders' interest in even pursuing these jobs. We recently, just a few hours ago at Forster, approved a bid where only one bidder came in to bid on some small paving jobs. The smaller contractors do not have these elaborate training programs. The section reads a joint apprenticeship training program which is registered and certified with the United States Department of Labor Bureau of Apprenticeship Training. The unions have outstanding training programs. That's well known in the industry and in the industry. They have outstanding training programs. But we also have to think of the small Kane County contractors that don't participate in union training programs. That doesn't mean they do their own training. My company just went through OSHA training. It's very certified. It was done by a professional company. Just because you're not involved in this does not mean that you do training or you're some kind of standard. Provision will require all vendors and bidders to participate in the training program, whether we're building Long Meadow Parkway Bridge or cutting that tree down right there. And do we really need to have a company come in and cut a tree down? It might be a 3-man company and put them through this. I don't think so. 85 to 90% of construction work nationwide is done by non-union companies. And some of them are very large. They build dams and suspension bridges. And characterizing non-union companies as substandard is very unfair. Union membership in the private sector, which our bidders are, is down to 6.75% nationwide and falling. They need these provisions like this to force businesses and their employees into the unions. They want you to help them do this. They will have full control over who gets into these apprenticeship training programs and who, by extension, does our work. It won't be our control, it'll be their control. Some of these apprenticeship training programs have not been very diverse, either by race or gender. I'd like to read just portions of a letter I received from a company I'd never heard from before. I received this back in February. This is from a company called RL Brink Corporation out of Quincy, Illinois. It's a letter seeking some financial help to help cover legal defense costs. This is just excerpts. We'd like to share our frightening story. We are a 40-plus-year-old family-owned heavy highway contractor located in Quincy, Illinois that has been heavily targeted by the unions. Over the past several years, the unions have used various tactics, including the use of governmental agencies, to accomplish their goals. They have initiated in excess of 60 complaints with various agencies, including IDOT, the Illinois Department of Labor, OSHA, NRC, and the U.S. Department of Labor, just to name a few. Most recently, they have initiated allegations with the chief procurement officer of IDOT challenging our apprenticeship programs. This action resulted in a suspension by IDOT against our 40-plus-year-old firm. IDOT appears to be willing to work with the unions to target non-union contractors, thus eliminating their competition. We expect the legal fees to surpass $150,000. If you want Kane County to go the way of the state of Illinois, support this. I will not support it. I urge the board to reject it. And right now, we're, at least at IDOT, 80% of our work is going union. I don't think we need to make it 100%. I don't think we need to eliminate the smaller contractors that can handle some of these smaller jobs. The speaker earlier, the public speaker mentioned levels of protection. KDOT already has a drug testing provision for both union and non-union contractors. We also have a pre-qualification process. So does the state of Illinois. We also have other requirements, such as owning an asphalt plant for a certain level of production that we would require. So we have these things in place. The bottom line is the unions want a monopoly on government taxpayer-funded work, and they want us to help them create that monopoly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Auger, and then Ms. Lish.
My question is, as an attorney, I reviewed the Prevailing Wage Act, and nowhere in the Prevailing Wage Act does it require us to have an apprentice program. Is that correct, Attorney Finnon?
That's true. This is a law that is currently being considered by the state legislature with respect to including this within the Prevailing Wage Act. It's not a law in Illinois at this time. The provision in this proposal is a federal Department of Labor requirement. It's totally optional, so it is not in the Prevailing Wage Act at this time. The other thing is that the county doesn't enforce the Prevailing Wage Act. That's left up to the Illinois Department of Labor. So we just put that in there because it's required by law. But this provision is not required at the current time as a law in the state of Illinois. It's being considered by the General Assembly. And I think it's gone to, I don't know if it's a final reading or not, but it's not law at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Auger. Ms. Lish.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to state actually, in a sense, Commissioner Frost, that with your example of building the bridges and cutting down trees and things, I want that training. I want to know that those people have been trained in some fashion or another. I'm going to also read something out of the New York Times, dated back July of 2008, and it starts off, shoddy electrical work by private contractors on United States military bases in Iraq is widespread and dangerous, causing more deaths and injuries from fires and shocks that the Pentagon has acknowledged according to internal Army documents. Those, to me, are by contractors that are not getting proper training. They are killing, and have killed our military men and women who are over there protecting and serving us. So I see the importance of the apprenticeship training program. I think that it's very vital. And I don't believe that we as a county, as Kane County, would want to take on any of that liability of any deaths or injuries to the workers due to a lack of a training program that we do not have in Kane County. So I'm in favor of keeping the provision of the Section 3, and I'd really like to ask the rest of the commissioners to consider that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lish. Mr. Bushman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we've discussed the issue of union and non-union today, but this change in the prevailing wage ordinance or resolution came from Finance Committee. I supported the more competitive, but ultimately saves taxpayers money. And, it's difficult to be, chairman of finance. We're always getting beat up on budget issues. One way we can help improve that situation is reduce the cost of our capital projects. If this is a way of doing that in a responsible way, then I'm in favor of it. And that's why I've supported the change.
Thank you, Mr. Bushman. I appreciate the deeply held beliefs that members of the board have on this issue on both sides, and I do appreciate thoughtfulness as we go through making our points and then making a determination going into the vote. Mr. Pollard?
I want to thank everyone that's voted so far. As Mr. John said, it's nice to I don't believe this is the language is perfect. Even putting Section 3 back, however, I think it's necessary. I want to address clarify a few things. This is not a union or non-union issue. If I want to start my own company, I did a quick Google search. I can join the Associated Building and Contractors. It's for non-union contractors in the state. I could join just as easily as if I were a union company. There's no preference. This language is not biased towards unions or non-unions. The idea of the small contractors, I actually think this does save taxpayer dollars. Let me give you an example. Mr. Cross raised the issue of a small company wanting to do a tree contract. Call it a tree contract, call it a road project, whatever. If that company is going to hire 5 individuals, The prevailing wage act says that we must pay X amount of wages. That's not, as Ms. Auger, it's not an issue that we're questioning. We pay those wages because the state mandates it. However, if I have to hire 5 people, men and women, at that rate, I can do that, and it's going to cost me X amount, whatever the statute says. However, if I bring in an apprentice, I can pay that apprentice, a qualified apprentice, less, because that person is going to receive the training, as Ms. Castro said, we're paying for that training. I can pay that apprentice less, which in return makes that bid less to the county, which means that we save tax dollars. This actually can come back to save the taxpayers' money. To me, this is a financial issue. If you look at the Department of Labor site, it mentions that for every dollar invested in an apprenticeship training program, it yields a return of approximately $50 to local counties. That's the kind of return on investment that I think we need to take care of for our county taxpayers. Again, every dollar that goes into a training apprenticeship comes back with $50 in local counties, which comes back to our tax base, which provides jobs to people in Kane County and surrounding areas. That's what's important. It's not a union or non-union issue. It's not a Republican or Democratic issue. In fact, this goes back to 1937. Federal law, we've had Democratic and Republican presidents, Democratic and Republican Congresses. This law has been reaffirmed, this ordinance has been reaffirmed by this body since at least 1997 by Republican, county board chairman and Republican majorities. So it's not a partisan issue. I hope it doesn't turn out to be that. We don't have those issues. So I want us to focus on what matters here, how we can save taxpayer dollars. I agree with Mr. Bushite, but this is the way to do it. And as our attorney mentioned, there's responsible better language in Springfield. This has already passed the House. It will pass the Senate as early as November, and we're going to have this come back. It's going to be a law of land for all contractors to have be a responsible bidder. Our legislators in Springfield, both Democrats and Republicans, have voted for this language. I think we need to do the same thing. I think we need to do what's best for the taxpayers, and I think we need to keep the language we've had for at least the last 16 years. And I encourage your support.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to follow up on it. The reason I want this back is that I support the education and training, proper training of our employees and stuff. That is number one reason. All the time I'm out in the community and listening to companies complain that our workforce is not well trained and educated here in King County. And then we're taking this out. We're saying, no, we don't want to start training people. Talk to your caterpillars, talk to your big companies, and ask them, what they think of our workforce. We need additional training, so that's why I largely support this and want this back.
Mr. Ford?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the very important parts of this, Section 3, is the substance abuse part of it, the prevention part of it. I believe in training. As you see with my daughter, I push education real hard. The one thing that concerns me is when the training is to take place. If a contractor look to get a project, win the bid, and look to do the training, then I think it delays the project. It causes more controversy with the contractor. If we're going to do something like this, the training has to be available, open training to anyone who wants to take the training prior to even applying for a job with a contractor. All contractors want qualified, trained people. It's too much of a headache to have a guy on your team who does not know what they're doing. Everybody wants a well-trained guy. Some of the best trained people may not have the actual paperwork because they learned it in the field. There's one architect who we admire greatly out of Chicago who never finished his education, and that's Frank Lloyd Wright. So I believe this is important, but I believe how we handle the training part, how it's required, is even more important. This has to be opened up so that anybody can go get training prior to even going to a contract for a job. And there's a lot of people out there who need that opportunity, and that's where we need to be in with this.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Mr. Kane?
Wow, I can't believe we've made this a difficult issue. Talk about having somebody cut a tree down or whatever. We want everybody to be trained. Take the word union on it. They are smart enough to have training programs. I'm not totally pro-union, but they do a lot of good things. So don't you want to know that the carpenter you hired knows what he's doing, he's been trained, or the plumber you hired, anybody? I can't believe I'm saying this, but we all preach training. So why take this out? Like I said, I can't believe it. Training is a good thing. You can't go wrong with making sure apprentices are trained. Otherwise, any bozo can walk up and say, I'm an apprentice. I'm trained. Where were you trained at?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kane.
It's a good thing.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Mr. Frost?
I'd like to just double back through some things that have been said. I'll start with Mike's comment. As I mentioned earlier, 85 to 90% of work nationwide is done by unions. So I do resent the fact of referring to these people as bozos. As far as what Brian said, you know, the state is working on passing this law. And that's the very reason why we've had 12 downgrades in our credit rating under the Democratic leadership over the last two governments. That's the kind of law. Third thing, Jesse, thank you very much for bringing up Caterpillar. State of Illinois-based multinational, multi-billion-dollar company. As of right now, they've built a multi-billion-dollar plant in Georgia and one in Texas, and they have no intention of ever building again in Illinois unless something drastically changes. If you want to support that direction in Kane County, favor this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Frost.
Back to the training that Mr. Ford brought up. Non-union employers can and do participate in the U.S. Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs. Small contractors can either petition the USDOL for approval of their own training programs, or they can join an association whose training programs already have USDOL allowed programs.
Thank you very much. Let's see, Mr. Sheffield, and then Ms. Castro, and then let's bring it, and then we'll call a question and vote the will of the board. Mr. Sheffield, then
I just want to say that this is obviously a very complicated subject. I think it's going to be difficult for us to resolve it in a meeting like this. County apparently has some sort of responsible bidding criteria, and I think that this board ought to take up the responsible bidding ordinance. Look at this issue. I don't know which way it would go, but maybe there's alternative trainings and language that can be put in there. Spend some time looking at who gets our bids. Maybe bids under 100,000 could be different than bids over 2 million. That's my point.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sheffield. The final word, Ms. Castro. You begin, you end.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a very passionate issue for everyone that is dealing for, and I respect my colleagues who are in support of it and against it. I think this opens a very big discussion, and I know Mr. O'Shea and I have had some very good spirited discussion about this provision, and I strongly feel we should keep it. Why change something that's not broken? We've had it in this ordinance since the 90s. Obviously, as you know, my colleague has said, some people felt very strong about it. Training was added to the language in the 91st General Assembly. Dave Syverson was one of the Senate sponsors. So obviously it's had Republican support. They also believe in the training and providing employees with training. We talk a great deal here in Kane County about creating jobs, creating training opportunities. Let's live up to that. And why are we doing a provision that's there? You know, Chairman Lawson, you even supported this when you were a senator. So, you know, to move this discussion further, I appreciate everyone's heartfelt discussion, and let's call the question.
Thank you, Ms. Castro. Okay, with that, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll. Excuse me. Clarifying, this is the motion to replace the language of Section 3 into our prevailing wage ordinance. To reinsert, what did I say? Replace? Okay, reinsert. See, that's why he gets paid for his lawyer. Let's count some numbers. Thank you, John. So to reinsert, motion to reinsert language from section 3 into the prevailing wage ordinance of the county. Mr. Cunningham?
Allen.
Aye.
Auger.
No.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis.
No.
Donahue.
No.
Ford.
Yes.
Braz.
No.
Gillum.
No.
Hyman.
Yes.
Olszak.
No.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kajari.
No.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
No.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffro.
No.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
No.
Sterrett.
No.
Taylor.
No.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winnicki.
No.
Okay, so the motion to reinsert language in section 3 into the ordinance fails on a vote of 11 to 13. Now, there's a motion on the table then for the ordinance as it stands in the package that was given to all the board members. Is there any big additional thought that we need, or should we just go to the roll call? Okay, so we'll go to motion to approve.
Wait, hold on. Raise your hand for comment.
Okay, Ms. Castro?
Just a quick comment. I have a little follow-up question. I am disappointed, but I do support prevailing wage and I hope everyone else as well. That's a question.
Okay, I'm getting counsel on the correct instruction for calling this. So we have a, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I mean, motion, I second.
So who had made the motion on the putting the language in before we went to amend?
I made motion to amend, but I also moved, where I made motion.
Yes, I thought so.
To approve.
Okay, I thought so. So let's see, if I can ask for, okay, so it was made by Mr. Vasquez, seconded by Ms. Auger. Thank you very much for just making sure that we've touched all the bases. I'd ask, so we have a motion and a second. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Allen. Auger.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Is that additional?
That was a yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Braz.
Yes.
Gillum.
Yes.
Hyman.
Yes.
Olszak.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kajari.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winnicki.
Yes.
Okay, motion.
The motion and second passes. Thank you very much for the thoughtfulness and respect shown to members of the board, your colleagues. The next item is number 13209, authorizing the design of additional life and safety improvements to 3rd Street Elevator Project. May I have a motion? So moved, Ms. Castro, second by Mr. Ford. Discussion? Any discussion on this? Ms. Taylor.
I have a couple concerns about this. This passed the board for the elevator at $850,000 in October of 2012. So it wasn't that long ago. It concerns me that all of a sudden there's issues that are coming to light that is going to ultimately increase this by $200,000 to $300,000 is what's happening. It's not just the $32,000, that's just to get started on the life safety issues that apparently the fire department has advised the actions that have been happening on the county side. It concerns me that it started out at $850,000, then it went to $806,000, then it elevated back up to this is elevating it back up to $850,000, and ultimately, if you add all that together,
with this additional $200,000, we now have over $1 million elevator. It concerns me that what else is coming? What else could potentially come to this? On top of the fact that where's the additional money coming from to pay for this? Again, we've got another one of those dollars and I'd like to, hopefully, maybe Mr. Harbaugh could answer some of it. If somebody's got some answers, I'm trying to figure this out.
Well, let's see, Mr. Ford, did you have can you answer the question, or should we bring up Mr. Harbaugh? And let's focus the question. The question is, what else is coming? We don't know. Is it where the money is going to come from? What is it? Could you please focus that question?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, I don't mean, the person who asked the question, Ms. Till, what is the question that you'd like someone to answer, and then maybe Mr. Ford could answer, or Mr. Harbaugh should answer?
In this particular project, what has changed in this project from the time we first approved it to now? What has changed in this project, and what has the potential to change going forward?
Got it. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ford?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate Melissa's concerns. One is the added cost is not added to the elevator itself. It's added to other safety features that need to be put in place. And one is the enclosing of the staircases. But once you put in an elevator, one of the requirements is to have enclosed staircase. And in that staircase, they have what they call landing areas that people can go to during the fire. And the area is a 1 hour rating area that's enclosed. The other part of it is that it's being put in here is a stack that needs to be put in prior to doing that work, because if you try to put it in afterwards, and that's a stack for a future sprinkler system. If you do that afterwards, it's going to cost us even more money. It's more of a smart move on our part than anything else. What we need to do now, going forward, make sure that we sit down with the fire department, the fire marshal one more time before we go out to bid and make sure we got everything covered. But with that in mind, our best option now is to take this out to bid as a whole project instead of as an add-on. I think that'd be our best move. That way, we may get better prices on it.
Okay, so there are two big pieces from my understanding of the answer, and that's all that's anticipated at this point. Even further clarification that we're trying to go back to square one, bid the entire project as it's now defined, including our partners at the Geneva Police or Geneva Fire Department, and then bid the whole. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Does that answer the question, Ms. Taylor?
Was the Geneva Fire Department included? I'm sorry, was the Geneva Fire Department included on this from the beginning?
That I can't answer.
I think the obvious answer to our question is that they were not part because we found this subsequent to this October of 2012.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Mr. Ford?
I don't know exactly when they came in as being included, but those of us who knew or have been involved in the construction business, these issues comes up at different times during construction. I've seen sprinkler system come up in a project after having lengthy conversations with inspection department, 75% into a project. These issues come up all the time. This is something that it just happens. It happens across the country with having plans reviewed. They don't see everything up front, or some new law get passed before you come back for final approval, and they decide to enforce it. All different issues come up that allows us these changes to make.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions? Mr. Scheffler, then Mr. Frost.
Just a comment. This project came up last fall before a lot of us were elected, so we don't really know, or I personally don't know much about the project and how it came to be. It seems to be inexpensive, can be saved at this time. One concern to answer Ms. Taylor is part of this project is going to have a jackhammer existing stairwell in the building, which is 120 years old. is foreseeable in my mind that there will be complications that will result from that construction that could result in cost overruns. Now, I don't know the design, and I don't know enough about the project to really say that. But if you start altering a 120-year-old building, cost overruns are a possibility.
Thank you, Mr. Sheffield. Mr. Frost?
I was involved with Ron and also Chairman Laws and Tim Harbaugh, and we did meet with the Geneva Fire Department one-on-one. We do have representatives here, Chief Olson and Deputy Chief Coster. This is a life safety issue. The process was we had architecturals done. We submitted them to the city for review. Again, this is a building, as Doug said, built in the 1800s. The stairwells are all open, and we're not talking about the ornamental stairwells in the atrium. These are the stairwells at the far north and south ends of the corridors. And what the fire department's asking is that we close those. We've looked at it, we can do it architecturally friendly, it'll look nice, won't look like a hatchet job. But these create areas of refuge, so if there's a fire on the first or second floor, the smoke goes up, fills up the building. People need to be able to get into these pressurized stairwells and get down. And at the same time, as Ron said, there's a pipe or a riser going up, which provides a hookup point on every floor. So rather than pull a hose all the way from 3rd Street up to the front door and up 4 stories, they can carry a dry hose up there, hook on and go at it. So if you recall, there was a fire in Chicago a few years back right by the Daily Plaza where sadly the fire department was mopping up and they found a pile of bodies at the top of a stairwell. And this is what happens if you don't have these areas of refuge. We made a commitment at admin and through the whole county board to support this building long term. We just put the cool roof on it. It's a very energy efficient building. We're going to be there a long time. And we also had to look at the fact that we run a building department. We're constantly asking people to update and provide building life safety improvements. It'd be a little bit hypocritical for us to try and say we don't want to do that. So at this point, we're trying to send it back, and instead of bidding it as 2 projects, pull them together and see if we can get the best bid to get them both done.
Thank you, Mr. President. If there aren't any other big items, I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll. Mr. Kane?
Ellen? Auger?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Castro?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Rise? Yes. Gillum?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazard?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Polly?
Yes.
Sheffro?
No.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterry?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Dickey?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Next item on the agenda is number 13210. That's authorizing the budget adjustment for the capital's certification range project architect costs, King County Sheriff's Department. Who would like to move that? Mr. Kenyon, second, Ms. Wodicki. So discussion, Ms. Wodicki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I initially pulled this off the consent agenda because this was discussed in detail. There was a presentation made by Lieutenant Rollins regarding the indoor shooting range. And this was at admin committee, and many of us were not at that committee meeting. So with your permission, Lieutenant Rollins is here today, and I think he can give us with your permission, I would like to ask him to come up and just give us a very quick summary. And if any commissioners have questions, this is the time to ask them those questions. Some of the commissioners are coming up to me saying, this is on the fast track that we're moving too fast at the indoor shooting range. From my understanding, this has been talked about throughout the past years. I was not on the jury previously, so that's why it appears as on the budget.
Thank you, Ms. Wodicki. Lieutenant, thank you very much for coming today. If you can give us a thumbnail of it and then be available to answer questions, we appreciate it.
I'd be happy to. The majority of your conversation here today in other amendments that you were doing was all discussing training, the need for training. And training is needed in law enforcement every bit as much as it's needed in any other labor force. This range will provide us not only for the sheriff's office, but become more of a regional training center to be able to use by other agencies so that we can interact a little bit more. It will also allow us to utilize our schedule better so that we can provide more training at a lesser cost.
Thank you very much. Now, for any questions for members of the board for the lieutenant?
I have comments.
Comment, Mr. Kane?
When this first came forward, I was surprised at its cost. I'm totally in favor of law enforcement. You've got to give these people the equipment and the training to do their job. And you know what they say, where every day they put their life on the line. Even when they go to settle a domestic dispute, things can go south real fast. And these men and ladies have to be trained to handle weapons. Now there's 9 shooting ranges in Kane County. Only one is close enough in indoor at the Aurora one. Is that correct?
Well, we're looking at outsourcing it for temporary solutions. Aurora was the closest, but we'd have to work around their schedule. And one of the things, we're back to training, we want to set up 2-day rifle classes and things like that. We're not going to get that in temporary schedules. So it will interfere with current training. And I don't think we want us to slow down. I think this is time to keep pace with times.
I was just having a conversation with a good friend this morning, and I thought, well, why would this building cost $1 million? The ventilation system has got to be able to protect the people who are shooting, take that smell of firearms out of the building. The building has to be designed so the bullets don't come back and hit you. This is environmentally friendly. They're going to pick up all the lead and it'll be recycled. But it's important that we give our people a safe place to train. Just as important, we expect them to keep us safe. We've got to give them the tools to do it and the training to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
I like this idea. It's a win-win for the county.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kane. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of the board members know what my background is law enforcement. 36 years, 30 of them working for county sheriff's office. And this is an all-important issue for our law enforcement. Firearms training is #1. We had a situation where, because of the lack of firearms training in the previous department I was with, it ended up in the federal court. It ended up costing the county millions of dollars because of the lack of firearm training not provided. However, Ron, I do have a problem. Several of my constituents have expressed a problem on the cost of the architectural fee. Where did this number of $67,000 come up?
I'll let Tim answer that. He's on the building end of this.
Now, this is not set in stone at $67,000 figure, correct? We have to take bids on that.
It's up to that amount.
How did that number come out in the first place? That's all I've been hearing about.
I use traditional math for hiring an architect. I have a proposal that's been drafted to go out on the street. That should go out in a day or two. The sheriff's office got it Friday. From there, those numbers will come back. We will then evaluate them, similar to how engineering work is done by the Department of Transportation. We would then negotiate that fee accordingly. But that was my estimate of a maximum amount for the architectural work.
Thank you.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes, my comments are specific to the design of the facility. I'd like to have incorporated in the design of the facility an exterior access. The reason that I'd like to have that considered is because I am supportive of this range in the context that it be a regional range available to all law enforcement entities within the county. I consider it to be a Kane County range. So that would, an exterior access would better accommodate that group, I believe. Secondly, I believe an exterior access is proactive to the gun activity here in Illinois, conceal and carry, and there's a certification element to that. And at some point, I would like to see the county take a Well, when concealed carry occurs, I would like to see the county take a leadership position in terms of the certification, such that we would verify an individual who would be seeking a concealed carry certification, that our sheriff's department would confirm that they could handle and their familiarity with the mechanical aspects of the gun. And then our state's attorney would take on the responsibility to acquaint that user with their responsibilities for the care and use of that gun. And so in that context, the design of this shooting range is very important if it can be designed in such a fashion that it could accommodate those potential, well, one of them is a certain use, the other is a potential use. So I'll be very supportive of the program, I'll be very supportive of the gun range, I'll be very supportive of the design, but I do request that those two features be included.
To address your first question, it's our opinion in the sheriff's office that it would have an outside exit door. It'd have a swipe card given to only people that are authorized to have that, so that other agencies could come in and not interfere with their day-to-day operations. They can schedule their own times, they can come in and use that facility. So that's already built into our plan. As far as training for concealed carry, I think that needs to be in a discussion with the liabilities to the county and what they want to take on before the sheriff sees what types of resources we can throw at it. I don't think it's just something that we're going to say we're going to start doing and then somebody gets injured in our range, or somebody does something after they're trained a week later, does something negative, and the suit comes back. I mean, there's got to be some answers given to us first before we know how to advance forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Davis?
I want to echo some of what Mr. Kenyon said. We both had the privilege of chairing traditional public safety and support this have for a long time. And I can see here their willingness to continue to look at temporary solutions as well. We looked at some of the architectural features. Mine a little broader scope than what Mr. Lewis is saying. I'm hopeful that Mr. Harbaugh will take a look also at our priority list of capital projects in the instance that there is something else that will happen at the Judicial Center campus in terms of build out, that we can combine the center so that it's not necessarily a standalone project. That may or may not work, as long as it's something that we have in mind. We can have economies of scale that we can take advantage of.
So are you making a motion? No.
I support the effort. I'm just saying, as the architectural process happens, that we hopefully include that in the big picture. If there's other projects out there that build up.
Understand. Ms. Taylor?
I have a question. Are you considering other law enforcement groups to come in to help with the revenue within that range? Because I know, as you know, a lot of the departments, they tag together when it comes to range, whether it's indoor or outdoor. And are you looking at a revenue element coming out of this range going forward?
We've had some discussion on it. There's been no decisions on what type of fees. I mean, technically the building's the county's. We're just going to be like the managers of it. So when it comes to what you want to charge these other departments within Kane County to use your range, that's going to be some discussion that's going to have to be done. That's not probably going to be the decision the sheriff's going to make.
I'm just trying to figure out if there's other organizations within the county and law enforcement that would need to use our range in order to qualify as well.
I think the answer is that they have already had conversations with, I believe I saw a list of maybe 8 to 10 different partners in law enforcement.
Yes, I got a list of about 10 agencies, yes.
Great, that's what I needed, thank you.
Yeah. In fact, NEMR, which is one of the state training boards, wants, if we get it filled, 3 weeks to teach a 40 hours training for law enforcement. So they already want to do a 3-week commitment. So there is need.
Thank you, thank you, Lieutenant. Any other questions? If not, ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen? Auger?
Yes. Yes.
Is that yes or no?
Yes.
Barrett?
Ferrero, yes.
Castro?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Franz?
Yes.
Gilliam?
No.
Hammond?
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Zark?
Yes.
Mosh?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Palat?
Yes.
Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Taylor?
Taylor, yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, so the motion passes. Next item on the agenda are appointments. There are 3 categories listed, but the third one is not a necessary mandatory action on the county board. So, and because of the time constraints, I'm going to set that aside. So, we have recommendations that have been made for the Kane County Board of Review by our Supervisor of Assessments, Mark Armstrong, and we have the board working with different members of the county board. We also have the Board of Health Advisory Committee. Those have been made by Barb Jeffers, Director of Public Health, along with the work of several of the members of the board here. Could I have a motion? Let's put these together. Ask for a motion to pass, or excuse me, to approve. Ms. Sterrett makes the motion, seconded by Ms. Taylor. Is there any discussion? Ms. Taylor?
I just have one question, and is Mark still here?
Mark isn't. Mark asked me to convey if you had any questions, and more than happy to meet with any board members after the meeting to go into any detail.
Okay, my question, well, I guess I'll point it out to everyone else. Mark and I had conversations about the 3 positions of the chairman of the board of review, and I gotta make sure I get the right title. That position is the opposite political party of the chairman. And I'm noticing on this document, the gentleman who's listed here as the current chairman is the same political party as our county board chairman. And I mean, Mark and I had numerous discussions over this over a couple of years, so I wanted to make sure that we're following whatever we need to follow.
I mean, at first, so the question, Ms. Taylor, is, let's see, is it, I guess your first question would be, is it accurate that there is a statutory requirement that the chairman of the Kane County Board of Review is a member of the opposing party from the chairman of the county board? Is that your, okay, so the first question, let's try to get a legal opinion on that and answer from...
I don't know. No one's ever asked me that question before, so I don't know the answer. I'll be happy to research it. I don't know the answer.
Okay, let's see. Mr. Rickert?
I believe that one of the members of that board would have to be from the opposite party, not the chairman of the board. But you can check with Mr. Armstrong.
Now that I can understand that that would be someplace in the statute because of the balance in partisanship, but a requirement that the chairman be of an opposing party. And actually, we have a timeline on this one. you're saying that you've already had a conversation with the person who had to get a train to get in to do work with the Taxpayer Federation of Illinois, where they're writing some legislation. That's why he attended part, but not all. Are you saying, Ms. Taylor, that it's Mark Armstrong's position that it's the chairman needs to be a proposed party, or just a member of the committee needs to provide balance, partisan balance?
My interpretation, we've had numerous discussions over
No, just what Mark, just what Mark Armstrong.
What Mark said is that position needs to be the opposite political party. Hence the reason, based on the actions of the prior chairman, which was Jerry Jones, he was the opposite party, political party of the chairman of the county.
Well, just because that was the case in history doesn't mean that it was in statute. That might have just been balanced and they selected the person to be chairman. Now, the very specific question that I'm asking, because I understand that we're under a time frame, that we have to wait a month. If we split these and take them separately and we don't pass this, the specific question is, your recollection of Mark Armstrong's advice to you is that the chairman of this is from an opposing party as the chairman.
Correct.
Okay, that's your recollection. Okay, other thoughts, Ms. Allen?
First off, the appointments today don't have to do with the three-member board of review. They have to do with the need for additional members because there are so many hearings that need to be had. So first off, that's what's being discussed today. And then in committee, I just want to, I can't bring you a legal opinion, but in committee, we came at it from a different direction, or let me say that Mr. Armstrong came at it from a different direction, which was that of the three appointed members of the Board of Review, only two of them could be from the same party. So it's not opposite parties, it could be a Martian. It just only two could be from the same party.
First of all, thank you very much for the clarification. And I think you're refreshing my memory that we're not talking about the initial appointees to the Board of Review. We're talking about alternates. Therefore, it wouldn't be, most likely it wouldn't be a chairman, because would there already be an existing chairman? Okay, and if somebody knows for sure, then they put it in next. Mr. Pollard?
I don't want to take Mr. County's job away, but just reading the two statutes that are cited in the resolution, 35 LCS 200-65 and 1620, it does not, neither one mention a specific party of the chairman. It refers to the political makeup and compensation of the board. Follow what we said. Two members of the board must be of the political party polling the highest of any county office in the county, and one member of party polling the second highest. So 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat. And there was an issue Mr. Armstrong brought before the legislative committee they were looking at changing the language of Springfield in the event you had an independent or a Green party that came in so that we didn't have those issues. But currently, as the two statutes that are cited in the ordinance does not mention anything about the chairman.
Thank you very much for that research, Mr. Pollard. Ms. Castro.
One more other note based on that. It's on here. It says the chairman is selected by the Board of Review itself. Current chairman is Kevin Schlonger. So the board did not this body selects the chairman.
Okay. So does the board feel that it's enough to move forward with the appointments? Mr. Smith?
Looking at these are all big appointments. These people haven't served in those positions for the past several years. In fact, several of their terms have been expired. According to this, at least a year or 2 years, and they have been serving in that capacity. Correct?
That's what I understand. But I have not gone through to okay. If there are no other comments, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion to approve the appointments to the Kane County Board of Review and
Heyman.
Yes.
Bocek. Yes. Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Rush.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Okay. Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffler.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the executive session, so I'd like to ask for a motion in a second. So, in order to discuss litigation, so moved by Mr. Castro, second by Mr. Bennett. With the clerk call the roll to go into executive session.
Carter. Rivera.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Donahue. Ford.
Yes.
Franz.
Yes.
Gilliam.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
Bocek. Yes. Kenyon. Kenyon.
He said yes.
Kazari. Flash. Lewis. Molina. Pollock. Sheffield. Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Nicholas.
Okay. So the motion passes. We're in executive session. Okay, let's just cut them in half and have them start to get on to
June is next. Over here. What's that? We get more money for our cattle than we do our cattle. Well, I don't know. I'll find out.
Okay, let's see. Back in regular session, I would ask for a motion in a second to approve resolution number 13-11. So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Mr. Smith. Any comments? Great. If not, ask the clerk to call the roll.
Ellen.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Franz. Yes. Gilliam.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
Bocek. Yes. Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Rush.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffler. Silva. Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Nicky.
Yes.
The motion passes. Are there any speakers on non-agenda items? Okay,
I want to remind us that June is National Dairy Month, and this weekend there is a dairy breakfast at our own Grundle Farm in rural Hampshire from 6 till 11.
6 to 11.
And you can go out there and meet with the cattle and see how they're raised and taken care of. It is a fun event.
thank you, Mr. Kenyon. Any other thoughts from the board members? Mr. Yaz?
I just want to let everybody know that this week's transportation meeting, one of the major items is approving some phase 1 engineering along the park. So it'll be a major first step on that road, so everyone wants to participate.
And that will be the largest, if I'm not mistaken, the largest public works project in the history of Kane County. So, congratulations. If no other thoughts, could I have a motion and a second? So moved, to adjourn. So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Mr. Kane. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.